Right back here, facts over feelings. Your boy Grandmaster Jay, right back at you for. I'm gonna try to go for a whole nother hour tonight because I do want to cover some things. I hope y'all ain't got nothing better to do but to hang out with me. If you're on your job, go ahead and put your earpiece in. If you want to annoy the shit out of your coworkers, just put me on the speaker and turn me up. This is a pro-black program, something to help uplift black people in America and around the world. I want to send a big shout out to my folks in the UK. Y'all don't get enough shout outs as it is. They would have us believe that there's no racism happening in the UK, but I know that it is. So to everybody in the UK, all the way from Amsterdam, all the way down to Paris, France, I would say I bid you a shalom to all my folks even further than that, down in Spain, all through Morocco, Northern Africa. I also say greetings to you. All my friends and my partners in Haiti, all the folks out there in Jamaica and everywhere else in the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands, I also send a big shout out and respect and salute to you. Sooner or later, I have to set foot on the island so we can do that thing. When I left off, we were beginning to analyze what it meant by this word that was causing so much consternation, that cost some man his job, and why it is such a painful spot in our current dialogue. And when I began to peel back the layers of what it meant, what I found out was that there's really a disconnect. You see, only somebody who has actually, and let me pause for a second. In case y'all looking for part one, you know it was bad because Instagram has banned it before we can even get it out to you. But that's okay. I did save it, so we will get it up onto YouTube. They'll probably ban this one too when I'm done with it and meet with it after I get done. But that's just the world we live in. That's the way of the world. To make a long story short, when I started digging into it, this whole Semitic situation, I approached it from the historical side. I started in Kemet and I came up through Egypt and I followed that whole story. And then I listened to what a lot of brothers teach about who the original this was and who the original that was. And you start to get that argument. So you can see how they would jump completely over something else and get into it with these people and offend these people so badly and not think that they did nothing wrong. Y'all got to stay with me. I'm going to teach you a little bit. We facts over feelings. We're not feelings for your feelings. That's another show. We don't do that here. And of course, I have to be fair when I sit in the judge seat to make a decision that's going to be beneficial for my people. So what I found out as I looked into this thing was, like I said, there's some stuff that happened right around between 1400 to 1700. Y'all was busy, white people. You were very, 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 very busy running around classifying people, dividing us up into races. I don't know who made the fist, but that's what's happening. The bottom line is that they did some things that even to this day we suffer from. That's why we all confused about who we are. That's why we can't agree on one name. That's why we think we're a color in a crayon box rather than the citizens of a nation. We feel that the only way, or they felt that the only way to identify everybody was if we look, because they look so different from everybody else. Everybody else on the planet was different shades of us. That's why you got some people that's black as my shirt, or white as these teeth, or caramel color like me. We come in all different shades because that's the beauty of melanin. But then you have these people who came from the Caucasus Mountains and look like no goddamn body. And the first thing they did was they run around trying to figure out who the fuck everybody is. Oh, well, we're going to have to break it down. Understand what I'm telling you. In 1700s. And I'm talking to all my Kemet brothers and all the brothers that did the research like I did. Because, I was like, they know that it says right here that they were black people. I've done that too. But I had to understand what is the core of their argument. So when I dug into it, I must say, I keep coming to this era. You see, they trying to cover up this era. Remember the whole 4th of July thing that we did at Stone Mountain was based around what? July 4th, 1776. See, something was going on right around this time in the mind of these people. They was doing all kinds of hate. That's why they want to erase it now, because they realize that this whole era is going to fall under examination. And when we peel back every layer, we find out that y'all didn't just fuck us over in slavery. Y'all fucked us over in our religion. Y'all fucked other people over in classification. And y'all played this game all around the world. You the only color that's not in the crayon box, and you run around trying to tell everybody else what color they are. Even got these people messed up. But here's where it got crazy. And here's where I'm going to drop a bomb on y'all. And here's where you're going to sit back and say, wow, I did not know that. Around the 19th century, there was a guy by the name of Ernest Renan. He was an anthropologist. You know, people who like to dig up the dirt and figure out where people came from, and they still ain't been able to figure out where nobody came from. They have a theory, but theory means you don't know. I got a theory too that I can float away, but it don't mean it's real. So anyway, this anthropologist of the 19th century, Ernest Renan, he started aligning linguistic groupings with ethnicity. By the way you speak had to have something to do with your ethnicity and your culture. And he made up a bunch of stuff. They trying to define racial character. There was a guy by the name of Moritz Steinschneider. He wrote a thing called the Jewish Letters back in Berlin around the 1800s. And in there, he did an article where there's an article by a guy named Haman Stenthal. These names you don't have to know. Just look at what they did. He criticized Renan's article. He wrote an article called New Considerations on the General Character of the Semitic Peoples. In particular, their tendency to monotheism. That's having one God. See, before that, they had all kind of little gods. A God for this, a God for that. Everybody had a spirit for this. Well, they were the ones who said, no, there's only one God. Now, Renan, he had acknowledged the importance of the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, Israel, but he called the Semitic races inferior to the Aryan for their monotheism. Because they believed in one God, he said that they were inferior, which he then held to arise that because of this, we supposed to have been lustful, we supposed to have been violent, we supposed to have been unscrupulous, we supposed to have been selfish and had racial instincts. That sounds like he's projecting his own shit on some other people. So here's where it all went wrong. In 1879, there was a German journalist by the name of Wilhelm Marr. He began the politicization of the term by specifically speaking of a struggle between the Jews and the Germans. He put it out in a pamphlet called Der Weg zum Sieg des Germanenbunds, which is German, über das Judentum, meaning in English, the way to victory of German schism over Judaism. He accused the Jews of being liberals, a people without roots who had Judicized Germans beyond salvation. And in 1879, he founded the League for Anti-Semitism, which concerned itself entirely with anti-Jewish political action. See, y'all don't remember what happened in Germany because you don't pay attention to history. But in order for them to try to pull Germany out of the condition that it was in, which was a lot like it was today, they had to blame somebody. So they chose these people and they blamed them for all their problems. They blamed them for everything. They figured they did it. They're the criminals. They're the thugs. They blame these people. And then you got the elites got behind Hitler and put him in power. And the first thing he does, he want to kill these people. So when you hear the term someone being anti-Semitic, don't base it on the historical record of who the Hebrews were in the Kemetic time. Come forward and look at what happened between 1770 and 1879. Again, it was a white person who sat down and made up this term to justify the execution of all those Jews in the Holocaust. And when I put it to you like that, if I was one of them, I would be offended too. Now, what y'all just saw me do is prove to you that I'm no racist. I'm all about justice and equality. And for every Jew person that's watching this, I understand now why you get so upset. Because those of us who were very sympathetic to what happened to you did not understand that it sounded like you were trying to say something that you were not. So I'm going to slide y'all that way. But you have to understand where we're coming from too. See, we're coming out of our own Holocaust. We're still trying to remember our culture got erased from us. So we tried to put our culture back together. And we're finding out, just like the white people are finding out, that when you dig down in the dirt, who you keep running into? Black people. When you look at the statues where they blew the big nose off like I got, who you see? Black people. When you dig all down through all the other continents, you find statues who look just like us. That's what the fuck you see. So we going through a thing by ourselves. We too was victimized. We too got racialized. We too, but we got enslaved. And as horrible as it was what they did to you all, as terrible as it was, what they did to us was just as horrible. So you got two groups of people. both being stigmatized by the classification of one person. And that's why I tell every black person, if you look at another black person as your enemy and not looking at your common enemy, then you are part of the goddamn problem. Can I talk up in here? However, as we begin to look at this now, we begin to understand that in a country that has failed to educate its population about the things that they did between the year 1400 and 1865, that block is what they really should teach in a special course called The Cost of Racism on the World at the hands of white people. That should be a course required learning. Matter of fact, when we put together the new nation, we're going to make sure we teach that shit so that y'all understand that no matter where you are, we are all part of the same group. Don't let the system that they came up with in the 1700s messed us up, got us sitting around talking about where did we really come from? How many different models of us were there? Are all melanated people from the same place? People in the Caribbean came from the same place. People in South America came from the same place. The Mexicans came from the same place. Melanin people versus non-melanin. Y'all got us all messed up. We all brothers and sisters. They use division to try to prevent us from achieving unity. Now, that I've beat you down with that one, I have to raise some questions. If you don't believe that we have a common enemy, well, then just ask yourself this. Who controls the dice? Who owns all the land? Who owns all the gold? Who controls all the money? Who make all the laws? Who owns and controls the government? Who controls the belief system? Who controls your ultimate destiny? So when I look at my brothers and sisters, I don't just look at the ones that look like me. I'm more so focused on the ones that look like none of us. Everybody else is family. Did y'all see what I just did? I just took the blacks, the Latinas, the Africans, the Mexicans, and I said, we family. Even if we might hate each other, because you've been brainwashed. But then when I look at the other side, and I look at the whites and the Asians and some of the Indian offshoots from the Mongolian phenotype, I see another group. The question is, why are y'all letting one group dictate to the other 9 what they are? Because there's strength in numbers. And as long as we can keep y'all thinking that you're separated of each other, you'll keep fighting amongst yourselves while we continue to make all the money off you and eat to our heart's content. And this is true. Now, if you go digging around, see the other side of the argument, well, brother, you're ignoring but the historical. This is not about the historical record. The historical record is accurate. It's what they did in the 1700s. They flipped the script the same way when they had the Council of Laodicea, where they rewrote the Bible. Can't you see a pattern here? Rewrote the Bible, trying to classify into races to keep them, redesign the money system. It restructured the whole fucking world. Y'all don't get that. That's why it's important that we wake up now. You know what I'm saying? You know, I want to talk to a certain group that tends to think that I have something against them, and I do not. As a matter of fact, I want y'all to go back and do some research on a show that I did when they had the shooting in New Jersey. Y'all remember the big shootout they had in New Jersey? And they tried to blame it on the Black Hebrew Israelites. And I did a special where I defended them. It was called Let's Elevate the Game. Go and look at it. It's still up. And I came out and I said, you're not going to wholesale indict a bunch of people that I've never seen commit an act of violence. You're not going to do that to them because they are a religious sect. And I've only seen them on the corners preaching to people out of their books. You are not going to try to make them into some terrorist group. Some white guy wrote that shit and the governor came out and made it. Y'all go and watch the special. Came to their defense when no one else did. Didn't claim to be one. None of that. But I knew damn well when I heard on the news that, well, it was the Hebrew Israelites that did it. I'm like, that's some bullshit. I ain't never known these people to bust a shot. So what you talking about? Came to their defense. And yet there are those today in that particular group that tend to talk negatively about me because of the work that I'm doing right now when they fail to realize I am one of you. But then again, I'm not a part of the organization. See, if I have to show you what I know about you, let me break it down. When we talk about Black Hebrews, that name applied to a community of African Americans who arrived in Israel in the late 1960s and the early 1970s, claiming to be the rightful inheritors of Jerusalem and the Holy Land, and who have remained in the country ever since. It was founded in the Black ghettos of Chicago in the 1960s, and its members claim to be the true descendants of Abraham and the biblical Israelites. They rejected the legitimacy of the state of Israel and predicted by 1977, the lands and the institutions now being controlled by the illegal government occupying the land of Israel will be back in the hands of Black people from America with the authority of the original African Hebrew Israelite nation of Jerusalem. That's how this whole thing got started. That first group of 39 Black Hebrews arrived in Israel via Liberia on 21 December 1969, and they asked to be granted immediate immigrant status under the law of return. Those people in Israel didn't know what to think, but they went ahead and let them in with visas. In the meantime, more people came over until they finally decided y'all ain't supposed to be here, because they went and consulted and came back. That's how this particular organization got started. I am not a member of that organization. I have all the respect for that organization. It just so happens that we worship the same God. We read from the same original Greek Aramaic scriptures. We understand that what you are reading is a translation and what I'm reading is the original text. It never said that when the messenger came or when the final days came, that the individuals that would be the keys to your freedom would be one of you. It said that you would participate in it, that you would be liberated by it, that you would exodus by it, that some of you all would reach glory by it. But it never said that just you would be the ones to make that happen. So when someone comes along that can galvanize the entire Black nationalist movement, when someone comes along who can stand toe to toe with our adversaries and point out the fallacies of what they've done to bring us down as a civilization, when someone comes along who can speak effectively and rightfully exegete the scriptures of Yah, then at that time you need to step back and understand that I'm here to help you, not to harm you. Otherwise, you become your own worst enemy. So I want to send a salute to all of my Black Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters on behalf of the Most High, because we don't serve a weak God. So I am not a weak person, because I got nothing but love for you. Whether you love me or not, we're going to get this work. Y'all understand what I'm saying. Now, let me apologize for some of the terms I'm about to use to discuss this topic. These are not the terms I prefer to use today, but they are the terms that historians and ethnologists and Bible commentators of past centuries and even the 20th century have employed to explain their ideas about where we came from. Their ideas were steeped in racial prejudice and were alleged to provide a biblical justification for Black slavery and the subjugation of Black people. Now, here's the question we have to ask ourselves, okay? A white person in a predominantly white country said this, that they got a better understanding and a greater appreciation for the Black experience in America because of what I'm about to say. They had to ask themselves this question. And remember, this is for white folks, the ones of y'all that's still hanging out with us. Is the Bible a book by a white God for white people? Of course not. God is a spirit and doesn't have a color. There's nothing in the scriptures, I didn't say the Bible, in the scriptures that indicate that people are excluded from God's saving grace on the basis of ethnic origin or skin color. That's nowhere in there. God is not wanting anyone to perish. He said that in 2 Peter 3:9. Yeshua is the savior of all peoples. Nevertheless, it's a fact that the majority of European artists and Bible commentators painted and described all biblical characters, including God, as white. And that had the effect of excluding Blacks from being part of scripture and has led some people of color to question our relevance to that, like we didn't exist. We have to show you. You understand what I'm saying? Exclusion was only one side of the problem. Where the presence of Blacks in the Bible was admitted primarily around uneducated whites, outrageous myth and fables. They made up a story. If a Black was in the Bible, it had to be some mystery or something to it. It was something that came out of a bottle or a bush or some bullshit like that. Now, this was especially true among white Christians living in the southeastern United States prior to the Civil War. Can you say Georgia? And those tales was used to support slavery. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is we have this period in our history where there was some there was this pathology going on in the mindset of this group of people that the people who are descendants of them today don't want to own up to. Oh, they'll admit that it happened, but no, you got to do more than that. They didn't just do this and there wasn't no consequences. They did this and there were long-term consequences. And some of y'all still today are pushing those programs and pushing those practices and teaching those things to your kids to keep it going. The only problem is you ran out of goddamn time because you didn't want to put your head in the scriptures. I didn't say the Bible, the scriptures. I can search the 66 books from Genesis to Revelation. I don't see Bible nowhere in there. It says the scriptures. And that's why we got problems today. I'm not trying to lie to y'all. Sometimes you have to wonder about the policies that these people operate under. I can bring it down to earth so we can all understand it right now. When we talk about law enforcement, y'all talk about reform the police, reform the police. Okay, let's take a look at that. Because when I hear that, I also hear people say, well, they just keep in with policy. Have you ever looked at police policies? Or have you pulled them and read them yourself? You'd be surprised what they say. Listen, the problem is that the truth is, and there's a report that proves this, is that most of the problems in policing are not the ones we see. The problems are even deeper than that. The problems go beyond a white supremacist getting into the police force. The problem is how they do business. And what I mean by that is you can actually go in to a police department and be a complete fuck up all the way until you get on the street. But they write on your papers that you're an excellent person. And the first time you learn about a situation is when you confront that situation. So when you talk about somebody getting scared and shooting somebody, then what ends up happening is that individual really has not been trained on this shit. And a lot of them know this. And a lot of police agencies know this. But they got to put somebody on the street. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, all this shit that we're seeing, you're like, his training should have taught him better. Most of them don't. And then they have this policy where either we can fire you or you can quit. If you quit, we'll write you a good recommendation to go to another police department. That's why you find when you investigate these guys, you find out they're complete fuck ups. And they went from station to station to station to station, fucking up because they can keep getting a job. That's why when they fire them, they really are doing something to them. They can't go get another job. They can't be a cop no more. How about that? But when you hear them say, and he resigned, that means that he'll pop up somewhere else. You have cops that wander from agency to agency to agency, constantly incompetent. And they are told, if you don't resign, I'm going to fire you. If you do resign, I'll give you a favorable recommendation. When the next department calls me, please do not tell me this is what's going on. I've spent time studying final reports of police tragedies, and I regularly read about cops who had reputations for consistently screwing up things and this attitude that the rules don't apply to me. Yet they have 5 years of performance evaluation saying that they're excellent in all their categories. And I know that it happens, and don't lie to me because I've seen them do it in the military. When they will give us anybody been in the military know exactly what I'm about to talk about. We got a thing called the NCOER, your non-commissioned officer evaluation report. I used to get one. Everybody got one. And it had all these categories on it. Is he a leader of men? Does he know his job? And you take the motherfucker around so somebody can rate you. And you made sure you was cool with the rater, took him out to dinner, knew his family, all that shit. So when they did your report, you look beautiful on paper, can be a complete fuck up. That's the problem in our policing. So it's not just about what we see. It's the whole goddamn system. I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. Y'all ain't got to get mad at me. Now, that we done got that out the way, I hope y'all feeling good because I'm feeling good right now. I think my people's gonna learn something. I want to send a shout out to one of my NFAC members that did something tonight that y'all think things don't get back to me. They do, because I love my sisters. Sisters make sure I stay informed. But we had one of our members who fell on some hard times, and he was homeless. He was living in his car, didn't know what he was going to do. Then he remembered he was a member of the NFAC. So he raised the flag and NFAC members came to his assistance, like we should come to all of our people's assistance. And they got this man off the street, put him in a hotel for a while to get himself together. And then they working with getting him back on his feet. See, that's that familyhood shit. That's why you can't come into the NFAC with none of that bullshit. We don't play that. G-Weed 2.0, I salute you, my brother. Make sure you get at me because, you know, I take care of those who take care of my own. But I want to let y'all know we looking out for each other. Okay, we don't just walk around with guns. We are the nexus and the core of practicing what we preach, as long as you don't bring no bullshit to the table. But G-Wee, I wanted to thank you for what you did for the brother. I know who the brother is. I'm not going to put his business out. But just understand, if you a black person and you see another black person doing falling on hard times, and all you do is talk about them, you part of the problem too. Part of the problem too. That now brings me to the last thing. Oh, one more thing before I move on. Now, I don't know how true this is, and I'm still investigating it. But there's supposed to be some people running around in masks that make them look black, killing people, white people. They said they caught a couple in Chicago trying to look like black people. Yeah, shooting people. If you haven't went out and bought you a firearm by now, you a goddamn fool. I'm not going to keep telling y'all this. Shotgun, semi-automatic weapon, and a pistol. If you don't own all three of those by now or on your way to get one, and I see your ass in the mall trying to buy some sneakers, I'm going to clown you out. I'm going to clown you out because, see, that shows me that you are either an idiot that wants to stay here and become a casualty, or you are rolling with your peoples. And right now, the thing is not to go out and get a brand new pair of shoes. The thing right now is not to go out and buy a new Xbox. Matter of fact, the thing right now is not to put no rims on your car. The thing right now is for you to go out and buy yourself a firearm and then get yourself a carry conceal so that you can mind your own goddamn business, so that when Karen or Bucky show the fuck up, you can be like, what? Not over here, cousin. That shit up out of here. No, motherfucker. Oh, pow. Okay, shout him. The bottom line is arm yourselves. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's get down to some real business. All right. I got all that out the way. See, that's that earthly stuff. That's looking in the rearview mirror. You know, we've been talking for the last couple of nights about the framework and the design for an organization that would help us to address problems we're currently having here in the United States and problems that we're having overseas, and how we loop them all together and come to a consensus of what the top 5 problems are that are facing black people on planet Earth. No matter what country you live in, you're black. And how we agree on those 5 things, and then how we form those into a platform that we all agree on because we all voted on it. And now we present that as our roadmap for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And we address that. And anybody who wants to help us or get on board with us and talk about they want to help us with our situation, you know, all of the people that are our allies that say, hey, I'm an ally of yours. I'm speaking to y'all now. And I got your emails. Here it comes right now. How can an ally help? I'm going to tell you how you can help us. You can help us by helping us achieve whatever we come up with on the top 5 issues facing black people. If you ain't trying to help us with those 5, then you're not helping us. We don't need you out there to try to show diversity. Fuck that. That don't work for us. We don't need you out there singing "We Shall Overcome." Your people wasn't the ones that needed to overcome. That song came out of slavery. So we don't need you out there for that. We don't need you running around trying to tell us what somebody else is doing. We don't need that. Okay. We don't need any of that. What we need you to do, since you want to be an ally of ours, is help us elevate that platform. Help us drive that agenda without you being in charge of it. Just be on the fucking team. Okay. And understand that you are on the team, but you are not part of the home team. That's what you can do to help us. If you can't do that, slide to the side, bruh. We on a mission. Now, we talked about this plan before, and when we did, I told y'all that once we got the organization created, and once we've collated all that information, and once we've determined what our top 5 are, we then sit down with some of our own people who hold PMP certifications like I do, and we come up with a master project plan. And this project plan is for 3 to 5 years. And this master project plan will spawn many sub-project plans. And every one of those sub-project plans will spawn many more sub-project plans as you work in your prospective areas. And all of these will be dependent on each other other. So if one falls over, it's going to affect the other. So we got to shift some stuff to keep it moving, like some dominoes. See, I just showed y'all the methodology of how we get there to build our own communities, to build our own cities, build our own nations, build our own states, build our own civilization. Now, once we get to that point and we have the master plan, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? I had a conversation today with some brothers that I consider to be black leaders of the community, not who the white people tell me are the leaders of the community. And we talked about having a black summit where we all get together. And we don't come to compete, and we ain't coming to debate, and we ain't coming to try to drive egos on each other. We're coming to all sit down and agree on how we're going to execute these 5 things and what do we think there are. So it's people coming from all of these different areas within our society, because eventually it has to affect every last one of you. We talked about having this black summit at an undisclosed location. No cameras, no phone, no nothing, like they do the G7. And we get in a room and we put our heads together and we figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? How long will this take? Who's going to own what piece? Good. We'll meet back here for progress. Now, once that's done, we now move out because we've got the plan. A lot of y'all wonder, well, how does that work? Well, the first thing that we had to understand was that before we can liberate ourselves in a material fashion, we got to liberate our minds. Y'all don't realize what's happened to our minds. A lot of us don't realize that your mind you suffer what we call Caucasianization. The Caucasianization of blacks was done so well over so many centuries that it's doubtful if real liberation of our minds would be achieved in this generation. Yet the black youth of the 1960s brought about the greatest reversal of the racist attitude to itself that's ever been achieved before. So we know we can turn it around. There is therefore no grounds for despair and much ground for faith if we understand that the total liberation will be slow, even with the best efforts, and that there will always be those who have the white viewpoint on race and they'll never abandon it. These cannot stop our onward march of the whole people to human equality and dignity. I taught on those last night. But who's going to lay the first stone at the foundation of the greatest movement for racial unity and power that's ever been undertaken? And how do we begin? See, let me explain something to you. Some of us who would otherwise be naturally expected to lead off have already spent so many years in studying the history of the crisis and analyzing the problems that we're now near the end of our journey. So we got to be able to pass the undertaking to those who are able to carry on. That's why you see so many of these old OGs that's still here. They still teaching. They don't learn it all, but now they got to hand it to somebody who can carry on. That's why I don't understand why a lot of the OGs are sitting around talking about, nah, this can't be it. What we doing? No, your job is done. Hand over the baton. We got you. We studied everything that you put out. We read every book that you wrote. We watched every video that you did. We listened to you. And now we're walking in what you taught. Don't be surprised that what you planted grew and now it's walking around and you can't believe it. Believe it. What's that old saying? When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Where's my water? Yeah. I don't drink this whole bottle of alkaline water. If y'all not drinking alkaline water, there is something seriously wrong with your system. Get you some alkaline water, pH 9.5 or higher. That's what I do. I be Mr. Duracell around here. But anyway, let me get back to this because I want y'all to understand how we get into what we're going to get into tonight. So listen to this very carefully. And I need y'all I thought this out very carefully. Those that you expect to lead, they've done their job. Okay. Now, no great gathering of a crowd starts a movement. Okay. On quite the contrary. When the many assemble, it's because someone has already begun. One person has already thought matters through and resolved that beginning that must be made. He should not be the usual leader whose fiery denunciations of wrongs against blacks may be counted on to stir emotions, and that's all. In other words, you don't start a movement on a speech. That's not what starts a movement. The only person needed is just one person who's dedicated with a sense of a mission for his race or her, seeking nothing but the opportunity to serve it. What I said is a quote from the book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. That quote right there describes exactly what's going on with us right now. Let me say it to you one more time for y'all who probably can go get your copy. Keep me honest. It says the one person needed is simply one who is dedicated with a sense of mission for his race, seeking nothing but the opportunity to serve it. There are doubtless countless thousands of such sons and daughters of this race that are willing and ready, but either knowing or not knowing what to do, or they're afraid of their own capabilities and they leaving it to somebody else. Listen to what I just said. A lot of y'all are willing and you're ready, but either not knowing what to do or afraid of your own capabilities, and you leaving it to somebody else. Yet all one person has to do is ask 5 or 6 people to study that master plan and then meet later to discuss it. Just 5 or 6 people, not one of whom has to be some big name person. Just 5 or 6 people. I need you to read this plan and we're going to meet up in 2 weeks. Just 5 or 6 regular folk, one person from each profession. Just get together and read the plan and let's meet back together. Now that small initial group, I'm going to say 6 of us could each have members that become a committee. You now are the head of your own committee. Each committee just needs 3 people. Y'all study the plan too before the next meeting, at which time 18 members could become the nucleus for a general organizing committee, because everybody knows the plan now and everybody knows where they fit in now. Now we have an organizing committee. Now, further nominations to the organizing committee should be representative of all groups, students, laborers, clerks, as well as professionals. The representative on the organizing committee made from national organizations, all black or smaller organizations or lodges or clubs, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You see how I just built that out for you from the top down? It reaches every piece of us. Now, the core committee will meet a few times. And after y'all met, during which time the master plan, y'all done studied the master plan, y'all done made revisions to the master plan, y'all done add amendments to the master plan, y'all done proposed future action for the master plan. Then you could proceed to develop and carry out the plan for the formation of a national organizing committee comprised of representatives from various elements of the country. Listen, the work of the organizing committee, before we get into your role, because I know a lot of people have asked me, if we go to another nation, where am I going to work? You see, you would already know where you're going to work, because if the master plan is executed the way it's supposed to, you already got a job before you get there, because whatever you're doing right now is what you're going to do to help build the nation. You understand what I'm saying to you? Y'all ain't hearing me. We ain't talking about packing up nowhere like we in the movie, and all that bullshit. We ain't talking about that. We talking about doing this in a smart way. Here's why. I can see something, why we gotta leave. Let me ask y'all a question. Do you really believe that the United States of America is gonna give you a state? Do you really believe that? Will you please wake these people up? They're not gonna give you shit. Why would I give you something that I done stole and prospered on? I don't care what you say. And for all of y'all who's stupid enough that's out there believing that we're going to fight you over a state, no, we're not. No, we're not. We'll take our trillions of dollars and our willing people and take our ass the hell up out of here and go build our own country and get strong. And when we come back, we can talk about the reparations you owe us. Know what I'm saying? Speaking of reparations, y'all stop tripping off the little story in the news about what they did in North Carolina where the local town was giving reparations. That is not reparations. A town can't give reparations to a people that were offended by an entire nation, that was enslaved. How are you going to figure out the worth of these people when people are moved in? No. That's not reparations. We want reparations from the U.S. government. We want reparations from all the nations that participated in the Portuguese slave trade. We want reparations for every company that profited off of the slave trade. That's reparations. Anyway, sorry about that. I just had to let that one out. Now, the work of the National Organizing Committee would be crucial. It has several functions, and I need y'all to understand that there's about 7 things that they need to do. The first thing they need to do is they're going to need to summarize the main features of the plan. Yeah, they got to put it together so everybody can understand it and outline them in the simplest terms for a publication, like a pamphlet, or distribute through a broadcast to the black world. Only for black people. There you go. This is what's happening. This is what we're talking about. Check it out. Read it. Okay? The second thing they have to do is they got to come up with a way and a means of funding the organizing procedures. Yeah, we got to pay for this ourselves. This, you want to know where the money goes? This is where the money goes. Our money. How are we going to spend our money? The third thing they got to do is determine the best general membership enrollment procedures, such as moving state by state, setting up a 1-year membership goal for each state instead of attempting to organize throughout all the nation at one time. No, we take you one state at a time. We one state at a time, 2 states at a time, like we did. We did Georgia and Arizona on the same day. We do 2 states at a time. The fourth thing they got to do, they got to divide each state into districts. I'm teaching tonight. I'm giving y'all the blueprint. I hope y'all making notes. Each with an organizing committee with a chairman, the same divisional scheme for towns and cities, each section having a committee and a chairman. You break it down all the way down to the bottom. And here's the real key of what they got to understand. Y'all got to draw heavily on young people because that's who really started the movement. So therefore, they would be the most powerful force in carrying it on. So you got to get the young people involved in this because they're the ones that's going to be here the longest to make sure it keeps going. The sixth thing they got to do is they got to conduct in advance a nationwide poll. Yeah, take a poll of black people taking a poll of black people to determine how many black people in America desire this organization and how many agree to participate. You can just do that. But would you participate in the reorganization of a black ethno nation for da-da-da-da-da? Would you do that? Hell no. Yes. I don't know. How much is it going to cost? I'll count me in. That bullshit. Okay? Let's do something like, what time is it? 8, 9, 10, 11. What's today? Wednesday? I know he don't want me to be on his show today. Y'all excuse me for a second. My man Yuck Mouth, y'all know Yuck Mouth. I got 5 on it. It's hitting me up because they want me to be on their show, but I'm doing my show right now. We're going to holler at you on the flip, my brother. All salute to you. The bottom line is getting back is that we have to break it down and then we have to clarify the scheme of these organizations to emphasize the individuality of membership. So you can join. But you have to realize that when you join this, you're actually joining something that your whole family is joining. So everybody's got a membership card from 5 and up. They got their own membership card. You're a card carrying member of this black organization that you said you want to be a part of. That's determining the purpose and the goals of where we go. Then you can set the membership. You ain't got to stay. You can set the national membership goal, 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, but always in terms of millions. Determine the time and the place for the first General Assembly for the format ratification and the launching of the action program. Once you done figured out who everybody is, once we got everybody organized, once we done took the census, once everybody's a card carrying, we now all got to come together for an assembly. And we got to say on this day going forward, now we start the action. What I just laid out to y'all can happen in a year, or it can happen in 6 months if you're aggressive. Or it can happen in 6 years if you take your time, if you think you got that kind of time. One of the other things that we're going to have to do is we're going to have an information and publicity committee that's going to maintain various media to keep constantly before the people so they understand the plan, the purpose, and the goals of the movement, who we are, what we're doing, and how much progress we done made. We got to form our own little media outlet. That's always today in black renovation. This is what's going on. This is what's coming up next. So ain't nobody ever got to stand around and say, well, what are we doing? Where we at? No, you know where we at. As a matter of fact, as we going through the process, we should propose annual awards to individuals and groups that have been outstanding in their work for racial unity through the organization and through the action. As we going through it, we're going to pat ourselves on the back. You'll be glad that you got a unity award. You're going to be glad that you got a Black Nation award. What happened? I helped build a nation right here, cuz. What you talking about? Once you get those pieces done, the organizational structure of the movement should be by major divisions for major activities, and each division is divided into departments for carrying out their respective programs. Y'all need to understand this. That's why you are experts already in a lot of these areas. Then we break y'all up into divisions. And I talked to y'all about this last night, but I'm going to keep talking to my people till they begin to understand that there is a structure that we have to set up. There is a building that we have to build. We got to build the skeleton first, and then we build it out. And for all y'all trying to fit in where you want to work or how you fit, you already got the job. Let me show you. Watch I go through every one of these divisions, and you will see, damn, that's where I'll be working. That's what I'll be helping out with. Y'all don't seem to understand. I had somebody say the craziest thing to me today. I'm going to show you how scared some of us are. Here's an example of fear, black people. Pay attention, black nation. This is what I mean about being in the matrix, but thinking you're awake at the same time. Someone came to me and said, so if we leave, will there be employment? And before I could even answer the question, they said, and what if the State Department revokes our passport? We won't be able to come back. You see how they thinking? Don't nobody give a damn about no passport. We ain't never coming back to this raggedy motherfucker. Oh, I had to cut them off after that. I had to get rid of them out of my life. The first division that we would have, and if you might, this is probably where you get in if you fit in, is the division of economic planning and development. The division of economic planning and development should be the foundation of the organized efforts and a principal source of support and promotion of the most important activities of the whole race. That's the division you want to be in if you want to know exactly where we're going. A guiding principle should be that all promoted community enterprises shall be cooperatively owned and controlled by the people of the community, and that each enterprise should be under highly trained management and competent service personnel. What I just said is every business is ours, and all the people who work there are ours, and everyone who's trained, is highly trained, are ours. Now you might work in that department, but that's going to be some sharp people over there. Inside of that department, we would have the Department of Promotion of Community Cooperative and Enterprises. Their job would be to conduct surveys to determine what the people want. They always on the phone, so y'all don't want. Okay, so we all want us to have, okay, we can get that done. No, I'll put that down. Don't worry about it. Okay, what else y'all want? Okay, we'll take that to the committee. Click. Who calls you to ask you what you want in your city until it's time for you to vote for them? Nobody. The second thing they would do, they would make sure that the project is sound. They also would be the ways and the means of community financing and securing trained personnel. The community enterprises that they set up, the businesses, these are businesses now. They'd be nationwide, but they're owned and operated by the people in their very own towns and cities. They would operate as a nationwide chain of stores, okay? With all this mass buying power, we would have our own chain of stores then. This would be the system. Whether the enterprises are food markets, shoe stores, department stores, or any other undertaking, which can be developed as a chain store system. You understand? We're building our own chain of income. Another department, if you work in these jobs already, I'm telling you what your job is. The Department of Finance, Banking, and Credit Unions. I told you about that last night, but let me go into detail. The first responsibility that they would have, am I trying to tell y'all how we put this thing together? Is anybody listening? Or are y'all waiting for some dirt and some comedy? I'm telling the black race how we build our nation. And y'all claim y'all want to be free. Well, damn it, let's get free. It's not just going to be a shoot 'em up, bang, bang revolution in the streets. First of all, we outnumbered. There's 255 million. Y'all can sit there and play that. Well, I believe there's more. Believe that shit when the bullets start flying. We ain't that damn stupid. We have to have the Department of Finance, Banking, and Credit Unions. The first job that they have is they're going to promote the consortium of banks that's operated by the members of the race, and the expansion of financing and banking systems. All y'all who always on here doing all these little videos about how you can flip your money, how you can flip your house, how we're going to buy back the block. All you motherfuckers, y'all should be in this department right here. That's where y'all supposed to be. And there'll be branches of a central national bank. We create our own national bank based on our own currency, and all of these banks dealing with us. The second responsibility is credit unions. Yeah, credit unions for individual assistance and buildings and loan services that we give to our own people, like they give to their own people, primarily for the communities without need building and loan services from blacks. That's what we have. We do it for ourselves. The third piece that's in that department is the Institute of Technology and Personnel Training. And that would be a key program of this movement. For a while, it would engage in the training of expert technicians for the various fields of operation under the master plan. Our principal objective would be the kind of creative expertise required for large-scale manufacturing operations, shoe manufacturing, men and women clothes, hats, underwear, canning, frozen goods, furniture, mattresses, and everything else that we need. The personnel training sections. Y'all have an important job for the race beyond the ordinary. You see, blacks are generally still quicker and more polite when serving white people, and their attitude toward members of their own race is one of indifference, and it's often insulting. This is known to be both true in Africa and in America. I'm talking to both of y'all right now. Yet this crucial question is not mentioned even in a discussion of why black businesses fail. This negative and essentially anti-black attitude of blacks toward blacks is left over from slavery in our history and must be uncompromisingly and even ruthlessly dealt with in both training and day-to-day administration. What I'm telling you is, if you're one of those people who still has a low opinion of black people and you think you can be a part of this new organization, this new culture, and have that same fucked up attitude, we'll fix that in the Department of Personnel Training. You will have to undergo training the same way when I went down to the Bahamas and I met some very nice people down in the Bahamas. Hey, Hanifa, down there in Nassau. I remember what she said. She said, I went to school for hospitality, and that's all I know. My dream is to be the best server in one of these resorts. And she was the nicest person, but she was trained that way. We have to break that out of us. And that's where it would happen. There's another department in this department, and that one would be the Department of Central Office of Accounting and Finance Control. Y'all working these jobs already. You just doing it for somebody else. Come on home and do it for your own. That should be the motto. Come on home and do it for your own. We'll have commercials and shit. Y'all be sitting there watching TV and all of a sudden, ever thought about moving to a black nation? Come on home. Do it for your own. Here again is an area where blacks are weak. Money management and control. The Central Office of Accounting and Finance Control would keep a rigorous check on all income and expenditures of the national organization and provide similar auditing and accounting units for the local community organizations and enterprises. Just like any other financial institution, we got to know where the money went, who got it, what happened to it, the whole 9 yards. Then here's something else that's important for all of my vegan folks and folks who like to eat like I eat, which is real organic food. We have to have the Department of Land Reclamation and Farming. When we get all this new land, we're not just going to sit on it and build houses. We got to eat off the land. So the Department of Land Reclamation and Farming has one job: to secure large tracts of land in various parts of the new country and raise vegetables of all kinds for various community markets, farm homes for persons who would work on the farm, and then a country camp for rest and play. We're talking about our own self-contained organ. We're not importing nothing. We're going to try to grow it all and do our own thing. Now, I know some folks out there, well, what about like eggs and poultry and beef and cattle? Okay, look, we're going to have to go to, what does the word say about what we eat? That's what's going to, what does the word say about what we eat? No. We're not bringing the hog over here. That's got to go. Are you going to stay because you need your bacon? We'll see you later. You got to have that steak. We'll see you later. You got to have the poultry and the eggs, right? Okay. What does the word say? Now, without farmlands, we might as well forget about canning and frozen food industries, or reducing the cost of living for our people by supplying their community stores with fresh vegetables, fresh butter and eggs and all of that. Because when you got to import stuff, it's going to cost us. Vast land holdings is the cornerstone of the master plan. The master plan won't work unless we get the land first. Another agency is the Transport and Distribution Agency. Now, that's just the agency that's going to be primarily concerned with long distance shipping from, our farms, our plants, and other points. We have our own trucking line. How many of y'all already got your own rigs? Put them on a tanker, bring them on over. We got to have another department, the Central Purchasing and Supply Agency. Y'all know what that is. I done told you. It's very self-explanatory. That's one division. See all them jobs that came out of that? Out of one division, out of this whole spoke of divisions that we've built. I'm walking around with it in my head right now. I need to put it down on the diagram in case something happened. Because ain't nobody going to remember none of this. But that's just one division. So if you're working in any of those, finance, banking, planning, IT, that's where you at. Y'all getting this? Teach Black Man. I got him. I'll do one more for the night and then we're going to wrap up. It's the division of public education. Yes, we have to have our own institution of education. See, I've been educated twice. The education and the indoctrination that I received here in the United States, and then the re-education that I got when I moved to Europe. The re-education that I got when I was stationed in Sinai, Egypt. The re-education I got when I went to South Africa. The re-education I got when I went to Israel. The re-education that is nowhere in the books. So the division of public education in our nation. And the purpose is to achieve a higher standard of teaching and student achievement on an entry level, on every level involved in the education of Black children and youth, and to develop a better system of general adult education in all Black communities. Notice what I said, not just for the children, but to develop a better system of general adult education in all the Black communities. I'm going to be honest with you. When I grew up around a lot of smart Black people. And I'm talking about not just one or two, a lot of smart Black people, some very talented Black people. The educational system in America has dumbed down our students. I'm not saying your kids are stupid. I'm saying that they've been taught stupid shit. So when they get into a conversation with somebody who actually has read some of the literary works or understands our deep history or knows that they was only taught from 1619 to 1969, they can't have a conversation with us because we allude to things and we bring up things that we think are taught in schools and they're not. Or we run into people who've been taught a skewed theology about things that we were taught the truth about. Like the kids are being taught that some slaves were happy. What the fuck's wrong with you? Slavery is not a noun. Slavery was violence. It was an action, enslavement. How the hell was somebody happy about that? See, that's what I'm talking about. So the first thing that we have to understand in this division of public education, a foundation for directed research, for field studies, and for the training of scholars for neglected areas in various aspects of African life and history. We have to have experts on our own culture. So kids will have what we didn't have. We don't know where we came from. Ain't nobody told us shit, and going to school, you wasn't going to find out nothing. But now we establish a division that solely focuses on teaching our kids African life and African history and all the other things that go with it. I'm going to stop right there because my time is up for the second hour of Facts Over Feelings. Don't forget, join me tomorrow. We'll pick this up again, and I'll see you all right back here. Shalom.